Okay, so continue on the snake rack. I cut my 17 and a half inch side rail. So these are going to be side rails. It's 1x2 material. I cut them 1.5 inches wide. And I'm going to take some of these strips that I cut over here, which are 2 inches wide, and put them in between here. So between these two pieces and the side, I need it to be 48.5. So I'm going to go trim these pieces up. I'll just trim off the end to make it square. And then I'll measure out what I need. So two of these together is 2 3/4. So I need to subtract that from 48.5. And then that's what that piece will be. And I need, we got 10 racks, 10 enclosures, sorry. So we're going to need 20 pieces of this to make 10 shelves. So I've got my parts cut out for the shelves for the snake enclosure. So the 4-foot snake enclosures will rest on this shelf. So what I intend to do is glue and screw these pieces together, and then I will screw the legs directly on this. There'll be 2 legs on each side, and then 1, 2, 3 in the back just to hold them. The enclosures, even though they're 4 foot wide by 17 deep by 10 high, don't weigh that much. So I don't need a lot of sturdy weight, but just to keep it stable and level on the floor and everything else, I want to make sure there's enough support. Once I see how well this does and how well it holds, I may put cross beams in here, but I'm not sure. I've got them, I can throw them in, but for now this should work just fine. Alright, so here's the start. I've got 2 shelves, enclosure shelves, screwed in. And what I'm doing is I'm making sure that they're level this way, making sure they're level that way, and making sure that the legs are level this way or that way as I go down. Now the one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add 3 legs off the back of this. I don't know which side's going to be the back. One mistake I made in doing this was not making sure that they lined up perfectly from this side, meaning that each shelf is the same size, 17.5 by 48.5. Excuse me. But making sure that the leg was in the right place or that the shelf was between the legs. So I started doing that. But I should be able to figure out which side's better. So that way when I screw the 3 legs on the back, it'll make more sense and be able to just provide more support. Now this thing's getting more and more stable, the more shelves. There'll be 5 of these put in here. I've got 11 inches in space between each shelf. So that means the 10-inch enclosure will fit in here with 1 inch left. Now I got heat tape on the bottom and some other stuff, so that'll leave me 1 inch of play in between each of these things. Okay, I got 1 rack built here, and I've got one of the enclosures just temporarily in there. I don't have it wired or hooked up or anything else yet. But you can see it's simply just make a wooden frame from 2x4s or whatever material you cut. Throw some legs on there and screw them in. So here's the second rack I'm making. I found it easiest to use clamps to hold the shelf temporarily, and then to the legs. Screw in your 4 legs, then screw in your back legs, and then as you put these shelves in, you can align them to the back and where they need to go. And what I'm doing for each of these is I've got 11 inches between these. So as soon as I get a shelf in here, I just measure down 11 inches, make a mark. You can't see it on this one because the wood's over it. I level this off, square it up. I make sure that the legs are level as well. Make sure that this side is level, make sure the long side is level, and then I screw them in. And then I take the long level here and I do each leg to kind of pull it in as you go down, because some of these, as you cut them, or they're 2x4s, they're not necessarily straight, you can at least pull it in a little bit to make it sturdy. And these things are fairly sturdy and heavy. I mean, once we got this together, it was pretty sturdy. And with this resting against the back wall, it's not going to go anywhere. Now with this, with the wires, I'm going to need to pull this away because I'll have 2 light wires and the heat mat wires that need to go back into the side, and there's no room to get back into the side. So I will probably bump this out a little bit, put some spacers in at the top, screw it to the wall so it doesn't move. Okay, here we are. The 2 new racks are built. I need to paint them, and then once they're painted, I'll need to move these lights back. These are daytime lights, so they simulate daytime hours. I have them on a timer. Actually, I have that one on a timer for when the snakes are over there, but I'm going to be putting these on a timer. So I need to move these back, probably about here to the middle of the room. That way light will get into the bottom enclosure as well as the tops. So those will move. So paint, move the lights, and then I need to install the heat mats on these. The way this will work is for ones with a divider in them, to make it 2 enclosures, the heat tape will go right in between. That way that will be the hot zone. For when it's used as a single enclosure, the heat tape will be on this side, and that will be cool. Since I have the room heater, it'll probably stay here. I gotta work on that. I'm probably gonna do, this is the hot side here, this is the hot side here. That way I'm not competing with heat for an outside wall, which may be cooler. It'll just be cooler, and they can gravitate towards the middle if they need to. And that should be it for tonight. So paint in the next couple days, and then start washing out and wiring and putting the lights in each of these enclosures.